Let's cross now live to Jerusalem to our correspondent Pierre Clochindler, who is standing by for us at the Knesset just outside. Pierre, it's been a busy morning, debates, protests, dispersal measures. We know that the opposition says they will not be voting in the Knesset plenum. What is happening on the ground right now where you are?
The protest goes unabated and galvanized, actually, because of the declaration of Yair Lapid, the head of the opposition, that there was no possibility to reach a compromise with this current coalition. Now, I'm with a man, a protester, who is a retired naval captain, the equivalent of a colonel in the ground forces, and a doctor in philosophy, Yossi Snir from Rishon LeZion. Yossi, no compromise. This is the key word that you hear here. Why?
No compromise. We are not compromising. You see, we're in Israel. We want to live in freedom country, in freedom. We are now ruled by a Messianic party that is ruling the best parts of Israel, is ruling the prime minister, is ruling everyone. We cannot live in such a country, in a religious country, with all the religious, we want now to live in a free country with freedom. My family, my children, and my grandchildren were born here in Israel, and I will stay in Israel until they will go out. I don't know what, but I don't want to live in such a country that the Messianic are ruling it. That's understood.
So it's a cultural war, it's a Kulturkampf.
It's not only cultural, it's a fight of ruling. Who is ruling who? We got in such miserable situation that a small part of people are ruling the whole country. 9 million of Jews, Arab, Druze, Christian, they are ruling the country because the prime minister is very weak, very weak. He cannot rule, so they are ruling him. And through him, they are ruling us. So this is the mass problem. So no compromise. We are not compromising on nothing, just freedom, a free country.
Thank you very much, Yossi Snir. As you heard, a very uncompromising stance right now, but there is no compromise which is being evolving at this point. There are last-minute attempts. We hear that the coalition might reconsider one of the thousands and thousands of reservations that were filibustered in the Knesset plenum for 48 hours, and maybe giving an extra chance for an extra effort for a compromise. Batya?
Now, Pierre, as you had Yossi there speaking, we were seeing that the top IDF officers had arrived at the Knesset in order to brief ministers on what they're calling the readiness of the army, as protests there are still underway. But it's not just the anti-overhaul protesters that were taking to the streets. On Sunday evening, there was a massive protest in support of the judicial reform and the government. Are you seeing any of those opposing protests there today outside of the Knesset?
You know, it's a dialogue of death between the protesters against the judicial reform or the judicial overall and those who support the judicial reform. And this dialogue doesn't really exist. As I said just earlier, you know, this is some sort of cultural and political war, because on one hand, the people on the right are stressing the necessity to enshrine the Torah of Israel, the Holy Scriptures, the land of Israel, Eretz Israel, the people of Israel, Am Israel, but they're not mentioning Zionism per se. Here they talk about the laws, they talk about constitutional laws in absence of a constitution instead of the Holy Scriptures. They speak about the people of Israel, but given that the rights of the minorities are protected, the rights of the individual are protected in a liberal society, they speak about the land of Israel, the Zionist land of Israel, but which land of Israel? Within which borders? Will it be land for peace or will it be annexation? All this is coming to a for in these critical 30 weeks of protest against the judicial overhaul. And as a result, there is an extreme divorce. Now we are in a state of emergency, or not yet in a state of emergency. We are in an emergency situation, says the President of the State of Israel, Yitzhak Herzog. But people fear that we might be in a state of emergency if the law is passed on its second and third reading. A state of emergency which could result in mass refusal to volunteer in the army, which could result in a general strike, which could result in a constitutional crisis, or even into a crisis of faith between the people of Israel, as the people are going to commemorate Tisha B'Av, the destruction of the Second Temple, 70 years after the birth of Jesus Christ. And this is one of the things, one of the red flags that the President of the State of Israel has been waving for the past 30 weeks. Batya?
Correspondent Pierre Kloschender right there in the thick of it all, just outside of the Knesset in Jerusalem, giving us all the updates. Thank you very much for that.